Hello, grace and peace, everyone. I am Sister Anissa Batiste for Thusia Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I'm coming to you live this Friday afternoon. It should be about the 19th, 19th of December, 2025, and I just like to have a little talk with you about what's happening in our region right now, where reports concerning cases of flu, cases of this flu virus is concerned. Now, I am living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and some time back I noticed, I believe it could have been earlier this year, 2025, I observed that our government was talking about introducing a flu vaccine. I remember being concerned because I am aware of the use of flu vaccines in places like the United States of America, and I know that they have negative impacts upon people's health. Grace and peace, Sister Linda, Sister Rita, please help me to share this live and tag persons if you can. So when I heard the early announcement of our government indicating that they were going to introduce flu vaccines, I pulled out my research and I did a program informing persons of the dangers of the flu vaccine and encouraging persons not to take it. Just frankly speaking, don't take any flu vaccine. And this is my topic today. Do not take the flu vaccine. Now, it was strange for us because we don't traditionally, as to my knowledge, we hadn't traditionally used flu vaccines in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I was concerned about that. I was concerned about the fact that they were going to introduce it. I know from experience that not a lot of research is done, if any, into these vaccines from our governmental authorities, and I could say that for sure because what usually happens is that traditionally we follow the health agencies in the region, such as the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CAFA, as well as PAHO, Pan American Health Organization, and they in turn follow the WHO, the World Health Organization. And so traditionally, governments come and go, it doesn't matter which one, they tend to just go along with the World Health Organization, CAFA, PAHO. And this is not unique to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This happens in all the other Caribbean islands, Barbados, Jamaica. Jamaica come right down, all of OECS, all of CARICOM. This is just the tradition. Of course, there are relationships that the governments have with WHO, PAHO, CAFA, and these relationships have benefits for them, as they would see, that, they get, whether it be medication at a cheaper rate, or whatever access they have to things that they feel the need for their health agencies, their health departments in their countries to operate. So the tendency and the tradition is to just go along with the guidance from WHO, PAHO, CAFA. And then there is also the tradition of going along with guidance from agencies in North America, such as the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States of America, and the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. This is what happened to us in COVID. This is what's happening with all these other issues that we're facing. So during COVID, you'd recall our health departments, when they give guidance, they would say the CDC said, they would be citing the CDC's recommendations and so on, protocols, etc., and they would follow suit. And I am saying this is not safe. If anything we should learn from what happened during COVID. We followed guidance from these agencies to our detriment. And today, across the world, it is evident that they were all wrong, that they hid information from us, we were deceived, and the result of that was Many people died and many people are sick. Just today, I was in Kingstown, and on a Friday, my family and I, normally we would come into town on a Friday morning to do shopping of fresh fruits and vegetables and so on. Market, as we would say. So today was not, it was just a regular day for me in that regard, even though I know a lot of people were shopping under the VAT-free circumstances. But while I was going about my business today, I had a very saddening experience, and I want to share it first before I go on to say what I have to say about the recent announcements about the flu. I was in a certain store picking up some goods, and as I was finished cashing, a lady came in and she saw me and she expressed, pleasure in seeing me, and she said, right in front of the lady who had just finished doing the transaction with me, she said, Anissa, oh my, every day I call your name, every day I call your name. So I said, why? What's going on? I hope you can hear me well. I should have checked my audio first. I hope you hear me well. And she said, a lot of people are dead in this country because they didn't listen to you. And people like me are alive because I listened. I said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I suspect she's talking about COVID, because I've gotten those kind of remarks from persons before, especially concerning, to quote them, you saved my life. And they're speaking about the fact that they're glad they took the advice that they heard me giving over and over where the COVID-19 injection is concerned, where I was saying to them, don't take it. Thanks for the feedback on the audio, Sister Rachel. Please help me to tag and share those of you who are in. And people normally say to me, you saved my life. Your enthusiast saved my life. Your church people say, if it weren't for you all, I would have been dead. So this woman was saying the same thing to me. She came out and told me when I asked her, what do you mean? But it is what she said to me that really made me so sad. She said, my daughter is dead. And I know, she looked at me in my face, the other lady was there, I know she was hearing. She said, I know, Miss Batiste, that it is the vaccine. She said that to me. And I sympathized with her, and I said, what happened? She proceeded to let me know that her daughter was working at the cruise ship terminal. She had a shop there, and she was told by the authorities that because of, her shop being at the cruise ship terminal, sort of being a frontline position, she would have to take it in order to continue to operate her shop. That's what they told her. The mother said she begged her not to take it. She kept telling her, no, this is not right. Look, listen to what Anissa is saying. And even the daughter, suggested that her mother should take it. And she said, no, I'm not going to take it. I'm not taking it at all. And so the girl took it, and she said she died last year. She said she knows it is a vaccine. I asked her what happened to her daughter's health. She proceeded to tell me that the girl came down with a lot of blood clots. She could not, she was having problems with blood reaching to her heart. She explained that she would take 1, 2, 3 steps here and then have to stop because she was so tired. The blood wasn't getting to the heart as it should. She talked about her coming down with anemia, low blood. And as she spoke, she even explained, my daughter used to be a big person in size. And if you see how she had come down really small, how she got sick. And she gave other details, how when she heard she had took ill, she left where she was in England, she came home to care for her, and so on and so forth. She even showed me. Well, I asked her now, I said, can I see a picture of her? Do you have a picture? Because the circumstances kind of sounded so familiar. I was telling her my sister-in-law went through the same things, and we shared with each other. And then I asked, can you show me a picture? And she did. She opened her phone and she started scrolling through, looking, and she pointed out the husband. She said how he's so disappointed, he's grieving. I suspect he himself took it because of the kind of job he has, working at one of the airports. And then she even expressed to me, he said, I'm not having anything to do with any voting or anything. He said, if Anissa was running, I would have voted for her. Told her I'm not in that anymore. But the point is, right, people are suffering a lot in this place. After she passed the husband's photo and she showed me the daughter, that broke me, because I realized it was somebody I knew well enough. I started to cry, and I couldn't believe, I mean, I know people are hurting, but and some have died, but I cried, and I empathized with her. I hugged her up, and she was telling me every night she cries. And she says she's the one who has taken over the shop since the daughter died. And everything just sort of rushed back to me, my experiences that I had with my sister-in-law, the last 8-9 months of taking care of her in her illness, along with her husband, my husband, and so on. And the thing is, the mother just kept saying to me, people should have listened to you. They should have listened to you. For what it's worth, you looking at this program, I am begging you. I don't want you to follow me blindly. I don't want you to listen to me blindly. But I'm asking you, please, do not be what we call a blind or ignorant truster. Do not be someone who trusts blindly or trusts ignorantly when health officials come and they tell you do this, or they tell you WHO says do this, or PAHO says do this. Don't do it. You're going to cause yourself a lot of heartache and headache. When it comes to decisions pertaining to your health, you're supposed to be able to make what we call informed consent or informed decision. If you don't have the information, your decision or your consent is not informed. And when I say if you don't have the information, I mean the facts. If a person is offering you something to take, you should be able to understand about the risks and the so-called benefits, whatever they are saying the benefits are. Medicine, drugs, and I can tell you, frankly speaking, these concoctions, because it's sorcery. These things are not without risks. They hardly have, if any at all, benefits. Usually it is for the sake of the pharmaceutical companies who make them. They're the ones making the monies by their drugs that are on the market, rushed onto the market for people, and you end up in trouble by rushing to take them. I am saying to you today in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and anyone who's hearing me, do not take the flu vaccine. The flu vaccine has been around for a while, being given to people in America, being taken to people in America, taken by people, in America and elsewhere, and it does them no good. They take the flu vaccine, they end up with the flu. They end up sick. They end up dying in some cases. Yes, there have been deaths reported after taking the flu vaccine. It is not worth it. You don't need a flu vaccine to deal with a flu. Now, what is happening is that PAHO has announced, and I want to show you why am I talking about don't take a flu vaccine. Because that is what they will want you to do. Even though right now they're just talking about cases. Let me show you something. The recent story that you saw on Facebook, just like me, and the Ministry of Health came out and said to the nation, we have these increase in flu cases, and you have to be careful, wear your mask, sanitize, wash your hands, if you're sick, stay at home, etc., and so on. That recent news that came out from the Ministry of Health, that recent news is based upon what PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, has been saying to them. So for those of you who didn't see it, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I will at least make a reference to it. But I want to go back in time just briefly and show you another piece of news that came out from PAHO, which tells me what is the ultimate advice they want to give to you. Now, the news was reported a day ago on St. Vincent Times Online, and the article was called St. Vincent Sees Spike in Respiratory Infections. St. Vincent Sees Spike in respiratory infections. And it told us this: the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Energy is advising the public to take the necessary precautionary measures to protect themselves and their families against viral respiratory infections, including the flu, the common cold, and various subtypes of influenza. The epidemiology unit has reported 77 cases of influenza A H3N2 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the period of January 2025 to December 12, 2025, with the majority of cases occurring among persons 0 to 19 years old. These cases contribute to a total of 202 influenza cases recorded for the year across all subtypes. And then they proceeded to advise persons on measures to take in light of the busy period, VAT-free shopping day, Christmas time, etc., 9 morning activities. And they tell you about wearing masks. Now, by now, you should know, if you've been following the news and the reality, by now you should know that those regular blue and white, pink and white, those regular masks that people buy and wear, they do nothing for stopping respiratory diseases. They do nothing. They cannot help you, except you have some special kind of mask with treatment of the material that could actually stop viral particles. You know, I remember during COVID, we had gotten some special masks that were treated with things like charcoal and colloidal silver, masks that were made using military technology out of the UK. Unless you have specialized masks, those cheapy blue and white, pink and white masks that you see people with, they can't stop small viral particles from getting into your nostrils. They cannot. One would think the Ministry of Health by now would understand this, but these are things that we came to learn as we did our own research and recognize that a lot of advice and so on that was given to people was just plain lies and misinformation and disinformation and nonsense. They tell you, of course, about proper hand hygiene, washing hands. They encourage people to sanitize, etc. Cover coughs and sneezes at all times. Stay home if you're ill. Avoid gatherings if you have, flu symptoms. And all those are good. Okay? But what's going on now with all these flu cases? Well, first of all, people get flu all the time. We know that. And usually around certain time of year too, you find it is more rampant for various reasons. But I want you to also take into consideration the fact that we are living in unique times when it comes to these respiratory illnesses. And by that I simply mean this. Since the COVID vaccine was given to thousands of people in different countries of the world, including our own country, even though we had the lowest uptake of it in the region, based on what we were told, since that time, a lot of people in our country are walking around with poor immune systems. The COVID-19 injection, or vaccine as we call it, has damaged the immune systems of a lot of our peoples in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Their immune systems are weaker. They're more susceptible to diseases. They're more susceptible to picking up sicknesses. And when a person that has the COVID-19 vaccine in them, and the spike protein, which is the toxic, especially the toxic part, and especially toxic part of the COVID injection or vaccine, because it's not a real vaccine. A person walking around with that spike protein in them, when you see they get sick, they tend to be doing what we call shedding or transmission of the spike protein. Many doctors around the world have shown that that is a thing, that people do transmit the spike protein. Usually, especially soon after they got the vaccine, they took it, soon after they took a jab, as well as I am advised based on my research, usually whenever they are sick. So that is why it's not wise to be around, just like it's not even wise to be around sick people that you could catch their cold or catch their flu. Much more people who took that COVID injection, when they are sick, they tend to be capable of transmitting the spike protein to others around them, in close proximity with them, sharing certain fluids, etc. with them, whether it be through kissing, through sexual activity, through saliva, etc. So what you find is that people, you see, these are not details we would usually get from a government department, because I would ask two fundamental questions. These people who are sick today, who are they? These 77 cases that you recorded between January and 2025 of that influenza H3N2 or influenza A virus, who are the people? Who are the 200 plus cases? By chance, are any or many of them people who had taken the COVID vaccine, or people who had come into close proximity to people who had taken the COVID vaccine? That is a very important question to ask. But in addition to that, what needs to be asked is, did any of them take the influenza vaccine? See, Anissa, what are you talking about? We don't do flu vaccines in St. Vincent. Well, I told you before, we do. Of recently, we do. So back in March, I had seen Dr. Duncan on television. He was reported as indicating as St. Vincent was about to give out flu vaccines. I raised the alarm in a program I did online. I normally do Facebook Lives for church and so on. I raised the alarm and I said, look, we shouldn't be giving people flu vaccines. They're not good. In history, the first bird flu vaccine was removed from the market in America because of just 20-something deaths from it. It was removed. It contains ingredients such as formaldehyde and other poisonous or toxic ingredients that people shouldn't be taking. There was a whole 60 minutes interview that was done concerning that vaccine, a flu vaccine, which was causing people to develop something called GBS or Guillain-Barré syndrome, which was causing issues with mobility, sort of crippling effects upon people. They can't walk, or they have to walk with a certain mechanism. And at the time, the flu vaccine was removed from off the shelves. They were calling it swine flu at the time. You have swine flu, you have bird flu. Flu vaccines are not safe, both by the ingredients that are in them that are toxic, that are being injected into your body, as well as by the fact that they're injecting you with a type of the flu and you yourself get sick from it. There are people who have died from taking flu vaccines, yet back in March they announced they were going to do it here. And if you were to go on the SVG Health's page today, SVG Health is the Facebook page of the Ministry of Health of St. Vincent and Grenadines. If you were to go there now and scroll down to the month of April, scroll back up to the month of April in this year, you will see one set of advertisements that was shared by the Ministry of Health telling people they were coming to a community near them and they were going to be giving out vaccines. And on the list of vaccines were influenza vaccine, a vaccine also for the HPV, which I've been talking about, and I think there was even one for RSV, which is respiratory syncytial virus. And those two viruses, respiratory syncytial virus and influenza vaccines, are the same two, along with the COVID vaccine, are the same diseases that PAHO is now telling people, oh, we have these diseases on the rise and you have to watch your surveillance and you have to tell your people to be careful and wear masks, etc. The same diseases that they were vaccinating people for. And this is the problem. They are not looking at the fact that people are getting sick off of things that you gave them vaccines for. So that in truth and in fact, in a lot of cases, the people in the country are sick because you gave them the sickness. Or they got the sickness from people who got it because they took what you were propagating. That is what our Ministry of Health around the Caribbean don't realize. Because like I said in the beginning, they just follow these agencies telling them, take this, take this, take this. And they don't realize that in advocating it for their people to take it, they are making their people sick. And then when they make their people sick, and you go around sick and you pass on your sicknesses, then we have trouble in the country. Look, I'm looking at some of the ads here on my phone right now. Let me see if I could turn my phone and show you. Watch. You see this here? Look at this. This was April 28th. This is Ministry of Health Facebook page. You see they're advocating free vaccination available. April 28th to May 2nd. Right? And look at the list of vaccines. You see flu there? Influenza. You see that? As well as HPV. Look another one. Look at this. This one was posted up. Trying to get the thing to focus. Just 1 second. April 15th. Look at it again. Public health building. They're calling people to take what? Influenza vaccine. See that? Vaccination pop-up clinic. Look at another one. Kingston Baptist Church, April 27th. They're giving out free vaccines. Look at one. I'm trying to focus for you to see. It's not so good. Right? You see? Influenza again. And HPV. You see? So the Ministry of Health, let me see, there's another one. Look, extended hours for all health centers to accommodate vaccinations this week till April 22nd to April 25th. What is in there? Again, influenza. You see? So the Ministry of Health was going around. Look, another one again. You see, I'm telling you no lie. This advertisement, April 24th. Benefits of vaccination. And they tell you this story. Right? And what is in there again? Influenza. Right? So what I'm saying to you, months before we are now in December, April and May, they were going about giving people the flu vaccine. So if you see increase of cases of flu now beyond what we are accustomed to, you better believe that that flu vaccine that they were giving out few months back has something to do with it. Because this is what happens in America. People take the flu vaccine every year, and like fools, they fail to realize every damn time you take it, you're getting flu. And the flu is worse and worse. It don't work. And we follow fashion and follow suit and end up with the same situation in our countries. And then wicked PAHO, because PAHO is working under the WHO, and the World Health Organization is funded by a man called Bill Gates, who's a eugenicist. He believes that he could use new vaccines to cut down the population of the world. I'm not telling you any lie. Bill Gates himself said that in a TED Talk. And if you watch my videos, you will see the clip I play where he said so. He says the world is overpopulated, reaching up to 9 billion. But if we do a good job with new vaccines and reproductive health services, etc., we could cut that down significantly. Bill Gates said that.
10 or 15%.
We could cut that down 10 or 15%. So Bill Gates is responsible for 80% at least of the funding that the World Health Organization gets. And then the World Health Organization sets policies based on Gates driving and saying, take vaccine. And then your government follows the WHO through agencies like PAHO and give our sheep, our people, the vaccines and hurt them. And I'm saying to you, don't take the flu vaccine. Don't take the flu vaccine. So how I know PAHO really wants us to take vaccines? This article came out on Similsa Times, 13th of December 2025. This is my final thing. The story is called SVG, Other Islands Urged to Brace for Surge in Flu Respiratory Viruses. PAHO urges Caribbean nations to brace for a surge in flu respiratory viruses. The Pan American Health Organization is urging Similsa and other vulnerable Caribbean states to sharpen their health service preparedness as the region enters its peak season for influenza and other respiratory viruses. It goes on to say what the governments should do. They give out an epidemiological alert. But they mention some of the respiratory diseases that they find are circulating and increasing. And one of them is influenza A viruses. Another one is RSV, or respiratory syncytial virus. Another one is COVID. They're still telling you to brace for COVID, etc. Now, this is not new to me, because back in January or February, PAHO came out with the same thing. Oh, there's an increase in metapneumovirus, a pneumonia type virus, and it's coming out of China and it's serious and you need to brace yourself and so on. You know what I did? I did a video, 5 minutes plus. I have it on TikTok. I've shared it on my Facebook page. Go and look for it. And I showed you, do not be deceived. If they come and try to tell you there's a new pandemic coming, do not be deceived, because here's this, here's what. The very same viruses that they were claiming are on the increase, the very same diseases, were the very same diseases listed on Pfizer's list of adverse reactions to the COVID vaccine. So when people were taking COVID vaccines, they were getting sick with these same problems. They were getting COVID, they were getting all different manners of influenzas, they were getting pneumonias, they were getting bronchitises, they were getting respiratory syncytial virus or RSV. And the people who took Pfizer and other COVID vaccines, they were the ones who were contributing to the increased cases of these diseases in the country, because they were getting sick. And Pfizer had admitted that these were side effects from their vaccines. So while they would want to come and give you the impression the thing just flying around in the air and you could just catch it and get sick, the truth is a lot of people who took the COVID vaccine before who are coming down with those sicknesses, and persons who get it from them. That's just the reality. And now they have added the flu vaccine to the mix since then. So people are getting flu from the flu vaccine too. So here the last paragraph of that article I was reading for you from PAHO. Here the last paragraph. PAHO reiterated the importance of immunization against influenza, COVID-19 and RSV, especially for older adults, people with chronic conditions, pregnant women, young children, and health workers. You see what PAHO is still telling people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in the region? You see what they're still telling our governments? How they must tell us to take vaccine for flu, take vaccine for RSV, take vaccine, which is really a vaccine for COVID-19. Despite all that has happened and everything that we have learned, PAHO is still pushing on our governments to tell us to take that death jab that so many hundreds and possibly thousands of Vincentians are dead from. PAHO is still telling our governments to do that. And adding, give them flu vaccine, give them RSV. And that's why I tell you all, do not trust your governments. Because don't trust them with your health, I am begging you. Because they will follow what PAHO says to do. They will follow what CARFA says to do. They will follow what WHO says to do. They're not radical enough to tell PAHO and they know we're not going to recommend any COVID-19 vaccine to our people again. We have seen the hurt and harm it has done. They're not radical enough to tell PAHO, no, we see what COVID did. We're not going to push any talk about influenza vaccine down Vincentian's throat, and we're not going to push any talk about RSV vaccines down Vincentian's throat. They're not radical enough in the region to tell PAHO and them that. They don't want to fall out of favor with them. They don't want to lose whatever quote-unquote benefits they're getting from being in those relationships with PAHO and WHO. That's why you have to do your own research and trust the convictions of the Holy Spirit upon your heart when you research and you check. I always tell you all, check the vaccine inserts. Any nurse, any doctor who come and talk to you and try to make you look suspicious when you ask, can I see the paper in the vaccine box to read it for myself to see what are the side effects, etc. Any one of them who make you feel like a fool or say, why you want to see it? Or behave like they're so suspicious about you, like, what's the problem? Why you want to see it? Be very afraid of them. Be very wary of them. Because let me tell you something. All the vaccine makers usually put on the paper that the person should read it before they take the vaccine. So don't make nobody push a vaccine down your throat without giving you the paper inside the box for you to read. It's called the package insert or the leaflet, the information leaflet. You need to read it. It will tell you the ingredients. It will tell you if you have certain allergies, you're not supposed to take this. It will tell you the ingredients. Sometimes you will see that ingredients include things like animal parts, like dog cells and monkey cells and egg. Why they putting that in you? To stop you from getting flu or stop you from getting HPV or whatever. It will tell you sometimes that there is something called human embryonic kidney cells, HEK. What is that? Yeah. Cells from an aborted fetus, an aborted baby. Some vaccines have that in it. You don't believe me? Check it out yourself. Some vaccines have cells from aborted babies inside them. That's what they're injecting in you. So that is why you need to read the material before you just go and take it. These and other things inside the vaccines like aluminum, like polysorbate 80, like formaldehyde that is used in embalming dead. Why the hell they injecting that into you inside a vaccine? Yes, some vaccines have formaldehyde. That's why you have to read the things. And I'm saying to you to be careful because I know of the attitudes of some of them. When you begin to ask questions, they feel you're funny. It must be an anti-vaxxer or must be a conspiracy theorist. They're listening to those quack doctors and they're listening to Anissa Baptiste. Them is anti-vaxxers. Those are the things that they often say. They've said it about us before, we know. But remember, you have a right to be informed. Because when any damage and if any damage comes to you, if you choose to consent without getting the information, you think you could sue them? You think you're going to get payment for your suffering? You think they could bring back your loved one? No. Just like the woman who told me this morning about her daughter who died, and she said every day she calls my name and says she wishes Avanel had listened to Anissa. And she said, if I did not listen to you, I would have been dead too. That's what the woman told me in tongue a while ago. Not even 2 hours ago. And I cried when I saw her picture of her daughter because I know the girl. Dead at 52 years old. Left to grieve her husband. All the mother could say is, the only thing I thank God for is she didn't have any children. Because she said she thanked God she didn't have children who would have suffered at her death. I had to tell her my sister-in-law left too to suffer. Teacher at girls' high school. Died at 44, left to grieve a 12-year-old, left to grieve a 7-year-old at the time when she died. A daughter and a son. So I am begging you all. PAHO is not to be trusted. WHO is not to be trusted. And they are still telling our governments to encourage, to reiterate two intentions. Let me read it again for you, just the paragraph. PAHO reiterated the importance of immunization against influenza, COVID-19, and RSV, and here it is, especially for older adults. That's not the same thing they were saying in COVID. Especially for people with chronic conditions. That's not the same thing that they told you all. Make sure your granny and your tanty and so and so take it because they have diabetes and things. Make sure they take the COVID vaccine. And that is what mashed them up. Including pregnant women. Imagine PAHO is still telling the government of the region to give pregnant women the COVID vaccine when all in America, the FDA and all of them have admitted that this thing mash up pregnant women. You know how much babies died? You know how many women didn't bring their babies to terms in this country because they took that COVID vaccine? I know one girl who told me personally she had miscarriage and she knows the vaccine. People were losing babies and some of them after the baby born, they born with all sorts of complications. And PAHO is still telling our government, oh, we have increases of respiratory illnesses. Make sure you tell your people to take the COVID vaccine, including pregnant women, young children and health workers. All you mad? That's why you can't listen to them. Listen, there are women in America. I have a whole book explaining the kind of damage that was done to the reproductive system of women and men after taking the COVID vaccine, including the fact that some women who managed to bring the baby ended up with their breast milk turning green. You think it's a joke? Breast milk turning green. The spike protein in the COVID vaccine was being passed on to the child in the womb through the placenta and through what they call maternal blood, the blood from the mother, damaging the child. Children were born with all kind of problems, shaking. Children were born with all kind of rashes on the skin. We showed you a lot of these videos in the early days of COVID. And PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, advising the government's ministries of health in the region, will still be telling them, in the face of what they call increased cases of flu, will still be telling them to recommend COVID-19 vaccine to pregnant women. Is wickedness. Is wickedness, and no government should just follow their advice like that without researching. You see, that is why it is important for us to do research and see exactly what happened to our people. We need some sort of come in and register how they are feeling. If they had two people in their family died, let them say 2 people died. Let them say how many shots it took. Let them say how they felt after, the different effects, because we don't really have that kind of reporting in the country, but we need it because we need to have a proper assessment of what happened, so that going forward we don't make the same mistakes, follow the same bad advice from these agencies. But who will do that? Now we know what the old government did, and God punished them for it. But will the new government be willing to do such investigation? I don't know. Because sometimes when people feel that they might be implicated in what happened, they may not want to pursue it. Because remember, the new government who was in opposition at the time, they too encouraged people to take the vaccine. They said they didn't believe that it should be mandated, but they still did encourage people to take it. And it's not only who were mandated to take the vaccine who suffered. People who simply followed their leaders because they believed they would know what is best, they too suffered. So if it was me and I had done that, and I see the suffering that came from it, I would have even apologized to the people and say, I regret I ever rolled up my sleeve and took that thing and told you all to go and take it. I thought it could have helped us, but I was wrong. I am saying to you all, do not take that flu vaccine. It is deadly. It is poisonous. For those it doesn't kill, it poisons you. And when you think that the PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, could still be telling our governments to tell us to take COVID vaccine still, and add on that, take influenza vaccine, take RSV, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. If they could still be telling us that, you must know you cannot trust these agencies and you cannot trust any government following them. So anytime you see the Ministry of Health putting out anything again, and you see the big PAHO sign at the back of the head, and they doing anything from PAHO, please remember, PAHO is still telling you, Vincentian, whose cousin, auntie, nenen, friend, brother, sister, mother, father has died from that COVID vaccine. PAHO is still telling your government to tell you take it. And if was me, knowing what that advice did to my people already, I didn't want to hear nothing about no other vaccine they're telling me to come and take. Not me. I'm not so stupid. They're still telling us, let your pregnant women take flu vaccine. They're still telling us, let your elderly take flu vaccine. They come in to tell us in the year of our Lord, December 19, 2025, let your family members with chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension take RSV and flu vaccine. You're mad? These people don't care about your lives. They're just carrying out a program that the WHO give them to do. And that WHO program is from Bill Gates, who funds the WHO. 80% of their funding comes from Bill Gates Foundation. And who is Bill Gates? A man who is on record saying the world is coming to the point of overpopulation. But if we do a good job on new vaccines and other interventions, we could cut that down by about 10 or 15%. That is who is funding the WHO. That is who is directing the program of PAHO, and that is who is advising your government. Do not listen to them. When it comes to your health, go on the internet. Go and look for different doctors and different sites who give you a different view, an alternative view, who will openly show you the insert, the paper that's in the vaccine box, so you could read it for yourself and see what the ingredients are, what they are not. Follow people who will give you information, not who hiding it up. Follow people who will be honest with you about the side effects, so that you could weigh the situation and determine, Nah, boy, I don't want to take that risk. Follow people who will respect your intelligence and don't come to you to tell you take a COVID vaccine again after all the damage that it has done. Pray and ask God to guide you. Do your own research. And one last thing I want to say before I go, but I will do another short video about it to help you. Get certain basic things to help yourself fight off things like flu this period. Don't be too alarmed about the things coming out of the UK and America and so on, the news. A lot of the media is used to provoke people into being afraid. Oh, this amount of cases in England and this amount of cases in Canada and this amount. That is to scare people, scaremongering and fearmongering. They did it in COVID. Don't be deceived. A lot of it is extreme and what you call exaggerated. But what you can do to help yourself, you have basic things around you. You need your vitamin C's. Get your oranges, your limes, your grapefruits, whatever is in giving you vitamin C. Naturally, get it. If you can't get enough naturally, buy some vitamin C tablets. Get the most natural one possible. You have brands like well, let me don't deal with brands, but you have vitamin C with rose hips. That's a herb. Get your vitamin C's. Take them daily. Take mega doses, sometimes 5, 3, 5. That's still small in comparison, but take your vitamin C's daily. Get vitamin D3. Vitamin D3, you want to get at least 10,000 IUs in per capsule, right? If you could get a natural one where the skin, the outer part, is not made by, flesh things and like pork and so on. If you could get a vegetarian one, get one. But vitamin D3 is very important. A lot of people who came down with severe illnesses during COVID, and so it was because the vitamin D3 level was very low. The doctors tell you that. So if you could include vitamin D3 in your daily vitamin routine, make sure each tablet is at least 10,000 IUs. That will help you a lot. If you can't get it through the tablet or the capsule, go out into the sun during certain times. There are certain key times. Get a sun bath. Get sun in your system. That will help you to make that vitamin D3 that you need as well. I understand sometimes between like 11 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. If you get sun during that time, we're in the Caribbean, we have a lot of sun, get it in. Use zinc. Zinc is an antiviral as well. Zinc tablets, okay? Try to get in, of course, when you're using zinc, you want to make sure you have food in your stomach because it tends to make you feel nauseated if you eat it if you take zinc tablets on an empty stomach. So you want to have food in your stomach. Get things like quercetin. That's another vitamin that you can get that helped a lot of people during COVID. Also, I want to recommend nasal sprays and like colloidal silver. I use colloidal silver all the time. My family has been using it for years and it is very helpful. Let me see if I have one I could show you here. I'm checking in my bag. Right, my cover is off, right? And this is an old bottle. But this is colloidal silver, okay? This is a 2-ounce bottle of colloidal silver. 10 ppm, 10 parts per million. Very fine silver particles in pure distilled water that when you ingest it, it is a natural antiviral, antibacterial. One moment, please. It fights against viruses, bacteria, and fungus. Once it comes into contact with the virus, it kills it on contact. Same with the bacteria and the fungus. So colloidal silver is really, really important. Now, you can use this on the go. You get a bottle, you keep it in your handbag, you're going to town, you're going in a business space, you take it off. Before you go inside and mingle with people, you spray it in your nostrils. I will have to take that call after. Sis, I'll call you back. I'm doing a live right now. I'll call you back, right? Okay, right? So you spray this in your nostrils, and the silver in your nostrils will act as like a barrier so that if you breathe in anything, you're dealing with people, sometimes they're talking to you right up in your face, the silver in your nostril will act as a barrier to kill whatever comes before it gets into your system, and that is what you want. Okay, so you spray the colloidal silver in your nostrils. You can spray it to the back of your throat to kill anything. Sometimes you feel your throat start to itch, something is coming on. Spray it in the back of your throat, gargle it there, swallow the silver. You can drink it also. You take like a tablespoon every day. Okay, it's a natural immune system builder. It is going to keep away these colds and flus. And even if you get it or you start getting the symptoms, you just increase your dosage every day, like about a tablespoon every 2 hours until the symptoms go, and it goes. We've been using this for years and years, and it's very effective. And I will share more from books and so on with you. I can help you source colloidal silver. You can get this bottle as well as you can get bigger bottles. You just have to contact me at 528-1015, 528-1015 for more information. But you have all these things that you can use to help yourself. The colloidal silver as a nasal spray, ingested, your vitamin C's, your vitamin D3, your zinc, your quercetin, all these are going to benefit you in fighting off the flu. Of course, if you know people are sick, for God's sake, don't go around them. Don't go liming and hanging out with them and they're sneezing, they're coughing. If you yourself are sick, stay home. Don't go compromising other persons in terms of them getting sick. But do not take the flu vaccine. Whatever you do not take the flu vaccine. It will wreck you. So I have come to the end of my life. I will talk to you more about these things. I'll give you more information in due time. I say these things because I care about you. God wants you to prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. He doesn't want you to get sick and compromise in your health that you cannot serve him as you should. And he doesn't want you to follow lies and deceptions either of organizations like PAHO and WHO fooling off your government and governments following them like Judas goats and carrying you like sheep to the slaughter. So may God help you as you do your own research and help yourself and listen to the advice that we are giving you from Thusia, because we gave it before in the past and it worked and many people's lives were saved, but sadly also people who didn't listen to us, they died. And I'm just telling you because people tell me that. They told me that today. Just today, a lady told me that. She said, every day I call your name. I said, if only Avanel had listened to what Anissa was saying. Because I listened and I'm alive. My daughter didn't and she's dead. And I know, Miss Batiste, I know it was the vaccine. I'm sorry about that, and I'm sorry for your family members who are hurting and who have died. I'm sorry for you having lost them, but I'm saying, don't go and make the same mistakes. God bless you until we talk again. I'm Anissa Batiste. Reach me at 528-1015. That's 528-1015. Amen. Bye for now. Bye. Bye-bye.